If you've been driving the same way for years, 2026 might be the year that catches you completely off guard. I'm not talking about minor tweaks to the DMV handbook. I'm talking about enforcement changes that are actively being deployed right now across multiple states, changes designed to generate revenue and improve safety. And many drivers have no idea they're already in effect. I spent the last week diving deep into state legislature websites, DMV announcements, and official government sources. And what I found is going to surprise you. We're seeing a coordinated shift in how traffic laws are enforced, from AI-powered cameras in work zones to stricter BAC limits that redefine what it means to drive sober. Some of these changes are fantastic for safety. Others feel like they're specifically designed to catch good drivers on a technicality. Here's the thing. What's legal in your state might be completely illegal in the state next door. And if you haven't checked your DMV portal in the last few months, you could be driving straight into a financial trap. Hit that subscribe button right now, because in 2026, what you don't know is going to cost you. I'm going to break down the 10 most significant changes, which states are leading the crackdown, and exactly how you can protect your license and your bank account. Let's start with something that's genuinely spreading like wildfire across the country: the absolute end of leniency for distracted driving. For years, many of you lived in what we call secondary enforcement states. These were places where a cop couldn't pull you over just for holding a phone. They needed another reason first, like a broken taillight or expired registration. Well, that era is officially over. Starting January 2026, over a dozen states, including heavy hitters like Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, have fully transitioned to primary enforcement. According to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, about 30 states already had hands-free laws. But what's changed is the aggressiveness of enforcement and the broadening of what counts as a violation. This means if an officer sees a glow on your lap or a phone in your palm, that's all the reason they need to flip the lights and pull you over. No other violation necessary. But here's where it gets worse. And this is catching thousands of drivers off guard. In states like California, they've tightened the definition of distracted driving under their 2026 updates. It's no longer just about texting while moving. Simply holding your device to check a GPS map or scrolling through a playlist while stopped at a red light can now trigger a citation. And the fines have absolutely skyrocketed. We're not talking about a $50 slap on the wrist anymore. First-time offenders in some jurisdictions are seeing fines between $200 and $500, and that's before court fees. Here's what most people don't realize. The real cost isn't even the T itself. It's what happens to your insurance rates. According to insurance industry data, a distracted driving ticket can increase your car insurance premiums by 15 to 30% for 3 to 5 years, on a policy that costs $1,500 annually. That's an extra $225 to $450 every single year. Over 5 years, one ticket could cost you well over $1,000 in increased premiums alone. So, what should you do if your car doesn't have integrated Bluetooth? 2026 is the year you finally invest in a $15 vent mount and learn how to use voice commands on your phone. Most smartphones have pretty good voice assistants now that can send texts, make calls, and navigate without you touching anything. It's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. Now, let's talk about something that's going to catch a lot of highway cruisers by surprise: the massive coordinated rollout of automated speed enforcement in construction zones. This isn't just about a few cameras here and there. We're seeing AI-linked systems being deployed that calculate your speed with surgical precision. Look at Michigan as a prime example. As of January 2026, the Michigan Department of Transportation has officially deployed speed monitoring cameras in active work zones across the state. According to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, more than 350 communities across the United States now use red light cameras, and more than 160 use speed cameras. And those numbers are growing rapidly. Here's the trap you need to know about. These cameras are active only when workers are present, which sounds fair enough, but here's the catch. If you're going just 10 miles per hour over the posted limit, the system triggers. First offense, you get a warning in the mail. Second offense, you're looking at a $150 civil fine. Third offense jumps to $300. Now, Michigan is being relatively nice by not adding points to your license yet, but states like Pennsylvania and Maryland are already using these systems to feed data directly to insurance companies. And once your insurance company knows about those violations, your rates are going up. If you see those orange barrels in 2026, treat that speed limit sign like it's written in stone. The cameras aren't just in work zones anymore either. Cities and states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida are expanding their camera networks significantly, particularly around school zones. These cameras are different from regular speed cameras because they're only active during specific hours, typically 30 minutes before school starts and 30 minutes after school ends, plus the same windows in the afternoon. Here's how they work. The cameras are connected to the school zone warning signs. During school hours, when the speed limit drops to 15 or 20 miles per hour, the cameras become active. If you're driving above the school zone speed limit by usually 10 miles an hour, your license plate gets photographed and you receive a citation in the mail. The fines typically range from $50 to $250 for a first offense. What makes these cameras controversial is that many drivers argue they don't see the warning signs, or they enter the school zone right as it becomes active and don't have time to slow down. Courts have generally upheld these systems, ruling that drivers have a responsibility to be aware of speed limit changes, especially in school zones. My advice: use navigation apps like Waze or Google Maps. Other drivers often mark where cameras are located, and many apps now alert you when you're approaching a school zone. Not so you can speed, but so you're extra aware and careful in those specific zones. Here's perhaps the most serious change on this entire list, and it represents a fundamental shift in how some states approach impaired driving. For decades, the national standard for DUI was 0.08% blood alcohol concentration. We all grew up with that number. But in January 2026, what we're calling the Utah model is officially going viral. Utah made national headlines in 2018 when they became the first state to lower their legal blood alcohol limit from 0.8 to 0.5%. According to research published by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Utah saw nearly 20% decline in fatal crashes involving drivers with any alcohol in their system after implementing the lower limit. That's genuinely significant data. Now, states including Washington, New York, and Hawaii are actively considering similar reductions. Washington State's legislature has been pushing SB 5067 to lower the limit to 0.05. Why does this matter to you? Because for the average person, 0.05% isn't what most people think of as drunk. It's 2 drinks. It's a beer at a ball game or a glass of wine with dinner. At 0.08% BC, a 180 lb man might reach that level after about 4 drinks over 2 hours. At 0.5, that same person might hit the limit after just 2 to 3 drinks in the same time frame. For a 140 lb woman, it could be just 2 drinks. But here's the critical point that I need to emphasize. These are rough estimates, and BAC is affected by numerous factors, including your weight and body composition, how much food you've eaten, your metabolism, the strength and type of alcohol, how quickly you consume the drinks and medications you're taking. In states moving toward this 0.5 limit, the penalties are staying just as harsh as the old 0.8 rules. We're talking mandatory ignition interlocks even for first-time offenders, immediate license suspension, fines of $500 to $2,000, possible jail time, mandatory alcohol education programs, and dramatically increased insurance rates. If you live in the Pacific Northwest or the Mountain West, the margin for error has essentially vanished. There is no safe formula for how many drinks you can have. The only truly safe approach if you've been drinking is to not drive at all. If you're planning to drink, use ride-sharing services, public transportation, or designate a sober driver before you start. The cost of an Uber is always less than the cost of a DUI, both financially and in terms of safety. Now, let's hit the wallets of anyone who bought an electric vehicle to save money on gas and taxes. If you purchased an EV thinking you'd escape road rail-related fees, I have some news that might frustrate you. Starting January 2026, the free ride for EVs is officially over across more than 40 states. And this isn't speculation, this is happening right now. Here's why this is occurring. For nearly a century, road construction and maintenance in the United States has been primarily funded through gas taxes. When you buy gasoline, a portion of that price, currently about 18.4 cents per gallon federally, plus state taxes that range from about 15 to 58 cents per gallon, goes into transportation infrastructure funds. Electric vehicles don't use gasoline, which means EV drivers aren't contributing to road maintenance through gas taxes, even though they're using the roads just as much as everyone else. States have decided that the fairest approach is to charge EV owners an annual fee that approximates what an average driver would pay in gas taxes. Here's the math. The average American drives about 13,500 meters per year. If your car gets 25 meters per gallon, that's 540 gal of gas annually. At 50 cents per gallon in combined state and federal gas taxes, that's $270 per year in gas taxes. So when states charge EV owners $100 to $200 annually, they're actually charging less than what a typical gas-powered vehicle owner pays in gas taxes. But for EV owners, this feels like a new expense. States like Minnesota have implemented aggressive new sliding scale fees where your registration is now tied to your car's MSRP and age. A driver of a 2024 Tesla or Kia EV could see a registration surcharge of $200 to $275 per year, and that's on top of your standard plate fees. Even worse, states like New Jersey and Texas have locked in what they're calling fee escalators. In New Jersey, the EV fee is set to climb by $10 every single year through 2028. You're in Pennsylvania, your EV fee just jumped to $250 this month. But here's the plot twist that should concern everyone. Whether you drive electric or gas, states like Oregon are using 2026 as the launchpad for road usage charges or RU programs. They're testing systems that track your actual mileage. If you drive a lot, the state wants a piece of every single mile. Whether you're electric or gas, the government is moving away from taxing fuel and toward taxing distance. Check your registration renewal notice carefully this month, because you might be paying for miles you haven't even driven yet. If you own or are considering buying an electric vehicle, factor these annual fees into your cost calculations. They're not going away. In fact, more states are likely to add them as EV adoption increases. Here's where the law gets physical. And if you live in California, Florida, or Nevada, you need to pay very close attention. The definition of reckless driving has been expanded in a way that directly threatens your property rights. Starting in 2026, police departments are no longer just writing tickets for exhibition of speed. Under new mandates like those in Nevada's AB 408 and updated codes in California, if an officer determines you are participating in a street takeover or stunt driving, which can be as simple as spinning your tires or drifting in an empty parking lot, they have the legal authority to impound your vehicle for up to 30 days on the spot. This isn't a fix-it, this is walk home from the scene territory. In Florida, the 2026 enforcement guidelines have doubled down on spectators as well. If you are standing on the sidewalk filming a street race, you are now subject to non-criminal traffic infractions that can cost you hundreds of dollars. And for the drivers, third-time offenders in Florida are now looking at felony charges and a 4-year license revocation. The message is absolutely clear. The street is for transport, not for social media content. If you even near a group of cars doing burnouts, leave immediately. Your car being towed and sitting in an impound lot for a month will cost you more than just the fine. Storage fees in 2026 are averaging $50 to $100 per day. That's $1,500 to $3,000 just in storage, plus the towing fee, plus the original citation. Let's talk about a rare piece of actually good news for some drivers, but it comes with a major procedural change that could trip you up. We're seeing a massive shift in how senior drivers are handled at the DMV, and this affects everyone with aging parents or grandparents. Look at Illinois as a prime example. As of early 2026, the Road Safety and Fairness Act has officially changed the game. For decades, Illinois was the only state that required a mandatory behind-the-wheel road test for drivers starting at age 75. But starting this year, that age has been pushed back to 79. And for many, the mandatory road test won't kick in until age 87. Why the change? Data from 2025 shows at older, drivers are actually among the safest on the road, and the old laws were seen as discriminatory. According to research from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, older drivers have lower rates of violations and crashes per licensed driver compared to younger age groups, though their crash rates per mile driven increase due to driving less overall. However, don't let your guard down. While the road test age is higher, the vision test requirements are getting stricter. In states like California and Florida, if you are over 70, you can no longer renew your license by mail or online. You must appear in person. The goal is simple. The state wants to see your eyes and assess your physical mobility before they give you another 5 years behind the wheel. The 2026 programs popping up in libraries and community centers are designed to help. But here's what you absolutely need to know. If you have a parent or grandparent with a license expiring in 2026, check their state's specific in-person age requirement. Missing that appointment could result in an automatic suspension that is an absolute nightmare to fix. You can't just reschedule. In many states, once your license expires due to a missed appointment, you have to start the entire application process over, including written tests and road tests. Now, we're entering what I call the danger zone of our list. This next change is a fundamental shift in how your license works as a legal document, and it affects everyone. Starting January 2026, the federal government and individual states are moving toward what's being called a high-security identity framework. If your license is up for renewal this year, the old days of just bringing a utility bill are completely over. In states like New York and Florida, you now face much stricter document verification. They are looking for gold standard proof, birth certificates, social security numbers, and for non-citizens, direct links between your license validity and your visa. Duration. If your visa expires in 6 months, your license expires in 6 months. No exceptions. But here's something that could actually save you at a traffic stop. The rise of the mobile ID. As of January 2026, over 15 states have officially rolled out digital driver's licenses that live in your smartphone's secure wallet. These aren't just pictures of your ID. They are encrypted tokens that can be scanned by police or airport security. The trap here is this. While a digital ID is convenient, some states are making in-person verification mandatory every few years to prevent AI-generated identity fraud. You might have been able to renew online for the last decade, but in 2026, the DMV likely wants to see your face in person to ensure you're a real human and not a deep fake. Check your renewal notice carefully. If it says in person required, don't ignore it, or your digital ID will turn red the moment your old one expires, and you'll be driving with an invalid license. Most of you know about over laws, but as of January 2026, California's AB 390 and several other states have expanded this law in a way that's going to catch thousands of drivers completely off guard. Traditionally, move-over laws meant you had to switch lanes for police cars or ambulances with flashing lights. That made sense to everyone, but here's the massive change. The law now includes every stationary vehicle with hazard lights. Read that again. If a regular person has a flat tire on the shoulder and their hazards are blinking, you are now legally required to move over or slow down significantly. If you stay in the right lane at 70 miles per hour next to a broken-down minivan, you are now committing a moving violation. The fines for this have been quietly doubled to act as a deterrent. In California, we're seeing fines of $250 to $1,000 plus points on your record. Why such harsh penalties? Because according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, roadsides struck by fatalities have reached record high GHS. Emergency responders, tow truck operators, and highway workers face extreme danger from passing traffic. Hundreds are struck and killed each year by vehicles that don't move over or slow down. The 2026 law treats a stranded parent and their kids with the same legal protection as a state trooper. It's genuinely a great safety move, but it's going to catch thousands of autopilot drivers off guard. From a practical standpoint, if you're driving on a highway and you see flashing lights ahead, whether it's a police car, ambulance, fire truck, tow truck, highway maintenance vehicle, or even just someone with their hazards on, start checking your mirrors immediately. Can you safely move to a lane that's farther away? If so, signal and move over early. If you can't move over safely, reduce your speed significantly. This isn't just about avoiding a ticket, it's about protecting people who are in incredibly vulnerable positions on the side of the road. That broken down car could be your family member next time. Here's one that affects anyone who uses those tinted plate covers or has a frame that slightly blocks the name of their state. In 2026, states are losing millions to toll evaders and camera dodgers, and they are cracking down hard. Laws like California's AB 1085 have made it an immediate infraction to have any product that interferes with the readability of a plate by an electronic scanner. This includes reflective sprays, clear plastic covers that catch glare, or even just dirt that accidentally covers a letter. The penalty, fines up to $1,000 per violation. Cops are being told to look for these specifically during traffic stops. In New York, they've even started using mobile plate readers on patrol cars that alert the officer if a plate isn't scanning properly. If the computer can't read your plate, the officer is pulling you over. Here's my recommendation. Take 5 minutes today. Go to your car, remove that smoked plate cover, and make sure your registration stickers are clearly visible. It's a $1,000 mistake that takes 60 seconds to fix. While you're at it, run your plate through a car wash if it's dirty. Some officers are interpreting excessive dirt as intentional obstruction, especially if only the plate area is dirty while the rest of the car is clean. Finally, we've reached the number one change, and this is the biggest shift for families in 2026. States are officially standardizing the path to a full driver's license, and it's getting significantly harder for young drivers. If you have teenage children or you're a young driver yourself, this affects you directly. Inspired by models in places like British Columbia and Virginia, many states are removing the second road test requirement, which sounds like good news. But they're replacing it with something much tougher, the 12-month clean record probation. Under the 2026 rules for new drivers, typically those under 21, you might get your intermediate license easier, but you are on a razor-thin, safe driving period. If you get one single ticket or are found at fault in a minor fender bender during your first 12 months, your progression is frozen. You might have to wait another year, attend mandatory safety classes, or in some states even start the permit process over from scratch. Additionally, we're seeing a national push for nighttime curfews moving from 11 p.m. to 9 p.m. for new drivers. Why are these changes happening? Research from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety consistently shows that strong graduated driver licensing programs have reduced fatal crash rates among 16-year-old drivers by 20 to 40% in states that have implemented them. The data shows that the two biggest risk factors for teen drivers are passengers and nighttime driving. Each additional young passenger in the vehicle increases crash risk substantially, and per mile driven, the fatal crash rate for teen drivers is about 3 times higher at night. Several states are also implementing longer learner permit periods. Instead of 6 months, some states now require young drivers to hold a learner's permit for 9 to 12 months before they can take the driving test. More supervised driving hours are required as well, increasing from 30 to 40 hours to 50 to 60 hours in some states, with a certain number of those hours required to be at night. Stricter passenger restrictions are also being enforced. Many states now prohibit newly licensed teen drivers from having any passengers under age 21, except siblings for the first 6 months to a year for parents. These stricter requirements mean you'll need to be more involved in your teen's driving education for a longer period, but the statistics suggest it's genuinely worth it. The bottom line is this: in 2026, a license is no longer a rite of passage you get once and keep forever. It is a performance-based privilege. Whether you're 16 or 66, the system is watching your record more closely than ever before. So, there you have it, 10 meters. Massive changes to USA driving laws for 2026. From AI cameras to digital IDs and 0.5 back limits, the road is genuinely changing. These aren't just theoretical future possibilities. These are active enforcement mandates happening right now across multiple states. Here's what I recommend you do today. First, if you're moving to a new state, visit that state's DMV website and familiarize yourself with their specific laws. Don't assume they're the same as where you came from. Second, if you travel across state lines regularly, learn the major differences in the states you drive through, especially around hands-free phone laws, speed limits, and right-on red rules. Third, keep your vehicle registration and insurance current. Set reminders on your phone. These aren't things you want to discover have lapsed when you're getting pulled over. Most importantly, remember that these laws exist for a reason, usually to prevent injuries and save lives. Whether you agree with every law or not, following keeps you safer, keeps others safer, and keeps your money in your wallet instead of going to fines and increased insurance premiums. If this video helped you understand what's coming, do me a favor. Share this with one person you care about. Seriously, send the link to your parents, your kids, or your neighbor. These enforcement changes are designed to catch people who aren't paying attention, and a little knowledge can save your family thousands of dollars. Don't forget to drop a comment below. Which of these 10 changes do you think is the most unfair, or which one surprised you the most? I'll be down there responding to as many as I can. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because traffic laws are constantly evolving, and I'll continue monitoring changes and updating you on what actually matters. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.